Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of Pinfalls. We have a slightly new home, a slightly different format, but we still have who else? Tommy else.
How you doing, John?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's
I mentioned a new home. We are now also on Everyday Fan Sports, as well as the Johngy podcast YouTube channel, as well
yeah,
as your Spotify.
and then the Spotify channel. So if you look up the Johngy podcast on Spotify, you will also find these episodes of Pinfalls on there. A lot has happened since the last pay-per-view. Some very big moves in the WWE. Everybody, I'm sure, is aware that Vince McMahon has finally stepped down as CEO in the WWE. Now, some may attribute this to the bit of controversy swirling right now about him. Honestly, I don't think it's a reason. I think he probably was gearing up to do this regardless, and this was just as good a time as any to do it with all the controversy going around and stuff with whatever it is. He apparently paid off like a few women who he had affairs with, and gave him some hush money or whatever. Here's the thing. I hear about this and I am in no way shocked to hear any of this.
Oh no, of course.
I mean, like this, I kind of was of the mind that, Vince and Linda probably had some sort of understanding and they could just be with whoever they wanted to, because it was clear that, like, you never see them in any capacity publicly as a couple,
Well, he admitted to adultery in the past.
Yeah. And I'm not condoning any of it or saying it's okay because he's Vince McMahon. I'm just saying that, like, none of this was shocking to me by any means.
No.
And I think he's survived far worse publicity than even this, So I don't think that that's necessarily, I think it was, I'm sure it played a part in the whole thing, but at the same time, it had to happen. He's 77 years old. It's like the guy pushed it way longer than anyone ever thought he would. He has left both Stephanie and Triple H more or less in charge. He's still the primary shareholder in the company, so he is not without influence. With it.
I mean, here's the thing, though, about surprising. The thing that surprised me is the amount of money he had to pay. Why? Like, it's a ridiculous amount of money to pay for however many women. Again, not to sound crude.
I think it was 3 women and roughly like $12.5 million or something like that. So that's about $4 million a woman.
He couldn't buy
if it went evenly. I honestly, I was surprised that that's all he had to pay him. I mean, I know you think it's an exorbitant amount, and I mean, I would gladly take $4 million, but I mean,
true. I don't know. It's just, I mean, come on.
I would have relations with Vince McMahon for $4 million. I mean, if that was,
as would I,
and I'd gladly keep my mouth shut about it too.
Well, I totally would keep my mouth shut about it.
But again, I'm not trying to glorify what he did or make it sound like it's okay or anything, but I wasn't surprised. And I thought, this guy has dealt with much worse. His trial with Hogan over the steroids and things like that was, in my opinion, a more divisive type of thing. And you know what? At 77 years old, let the guy, you got to live your life a little bit. I mean, the guy's, I know he's in good shape and all that and everything, but he only has so many years left in his life, like if he made it to 100, he only has, like what, 13 years or something like that, or
23,
23. Well, all right. 23, but even still, all right. So let's say the guy's got 23 years left, I mean, I'd like to spend them not spending 24 hours a day worrying about, how Raw, SmackDown, and the next pay-per-view and the next 6 pay-per-views and all that stuff are going to go and everything. I mean, he spends his entire life doing it. I think the guy deserves to spend some time with his grandkids, sit in the backyard, by the pool and chill out, not work out at 2 a.m. I mean,
Well, you say he survived much worse. The only real, I mean, look, I'm not judging and whatever. That's for somebody else to judge what exactly he did. However, where did that money come from? Was that part of the, if it was company money, there's some financial bits to this which
Sure.
could
Yeah.
be a
And
huge deal.
I saw a headline the other day that said something to the effect of how the WWE had to basically adjust
Right,
their income or something like that to account for the money, which to
right.
me says that that money came from within the company and
So
not
yeah,
out of
that's
his
bad.
pocket. So no, that's bad. Well, that's embezzling. I mean,
Yeah,
so that's not good. And especially from a guy who, from a personal standpoint, could easily afford that
yes.
12 to 14, million or whatever. He himself, not just his company, but he himself is a billionaire.
Oh
So,
yeah.
to shell out that money isn't as big of a deal to him as it is to you and me. So, all that being said, we are moving into a new era now where we have, and yes, you're wearing your Mick Foley Attitude Era, or Mankind, I should say specifically,
Really.
shirt. I know a lot of people are excited about it. I think there's going to be a transitionary period, which should be expected. That's going to take a little time. I don't think it's going to be an overnight thing where like suddenly everybody's, off the rails and, and we're back in 97 or something like that. It's the here to me, the good news is that Triple H being in charge of talent relations, I think you're going to see a lot less of those mass firings. I think you're going to see wiser investments in future talent.
Right.
And then as far as Steph at the helm of the ship, I think they both, I think, are like-minded in where they see success within the company and how to achieve it. And I think that they will be, I feel like if it had to be left in anybody's hands, I can't think of two people who would be better for it. I'm very happy with it. And
And what's the over under before the internet wrestling fan community starts complaining about Triple H? I put it at about 60 days.
it's hard to say. I mean, it's inevitable. It's
They'll be complaining
inevitable.
right after the pay-per-view.
I mean, the thing is like out of the gates, everybody's like, oh yeah, this is great. Everybody's very, very excited about it. I mean, they have a lot of faith in Triple H, and I do too. But I do agree that the internet community won't be happy if they're happy. So they need to have something to complain about. And if he's the one in charge, he's going to start taking all the heat for it. And people will say, well, this isn't the Triple H we thought we were going to get, or whatever the case is,
Or Vince is still pulling the strings.
Yeah, or Vince is doing it behind the scenes and he's, but honestly, I think it'll be fine. I mean, regardless of however they decide to paint it, I think the reality of it is that we are going to see an edgier shift into the future of the WWE, and I welcome it. And I trust the people who are at the helm right now. Now, the guy that Stephanie shares responsibilities with,
Nick Khan.
Yeah. I don't know enough about him, and
right.
he is my concern for the only reason that I just don't know enough about the guy to know and have an opinion on it. So, but outside of that, I'm fine with everything else that they've set up. So I'm just kind of in a wait and see mode. And I think, a lot of people are, and we'll just kind of wait and see where things go from here. So that being said, we have one of the biggest pay-per-views of the entire year coming up here, SummerSlam, arguably second next to WrestleMania. So,
and we got 8 big matches, so we should just jump right into this bad boy.
All right, John, take us away.
So our first one, let's start. I'm going to kind of go in weird order. Let's start off with the tag team title match. We got the Usos versus the Street Profits.
All right. So I feel like this has got to be the turning point. And I know I feel like I say this every show.
You do, but so do I.
I just feel like this has got to be ending soon. And if you're going to do it, you're going to do it at a big pay-per-view. And I really feel like the Usos have got to finally give up those titles. The Street Profits have been fighting and earning the respect of the crowd. They've got everybody behind them. Now Jeff Jarrett is supposed to be the special guest referee. He's a Tennessee native, and so they thought they'd bring him out for this and everything. I don't know that really is going to add a whole lot to the match or whatever, but I guess
it's gonna pop.
It's novel. Fine. It's novel. But at the end of the day, I'm going to throw my vote in on the Street Profits, that they're going to be the ones. Right now, there's no team hotter than them. I don't see anybody else that anyone would want to see beat the Usos more than the Street Profits. So that's my vote.
Well, I agree. I think as everything you said so far has been absolutely correct. I think going into after this pay-per-view, this will be the end of this little feud. They'll find another tag team. I'm not sure which tag team it'll be at this point. It could be the Judgment Day, and it could be the Mysterios, but we'll get to those two later on. It's time for the Street Profits to do it. Usos have had it long enough, and I think it's going to be the start of the decline of the tribal empire.
Yes, I agree.
So we agree.
I agree.
Next up, we got Seth freaking Rollins versus Riddle.
Well, I'm a big Riddle fan.
You're a big Rollins fan.
I love Riddle and you love Rollins. And I love Rollins too, but I am a very big Riddle fan. And that being said, I am going to put my vote with Rollins. I do believe that Riddle is going to kind of fall into a slump for a little bit. I think that Rollins is due to get some wins, and it's not a real heated rivalry at this point. It's just kind of something they drummed up for this and everything. I expect it to be a fantastic match. I think it'll be great to watch. And like I said, as much as I love my boy Riddle, I think just logistically, it's going to make more sense for them to give Seth one for a change and give Riddle maybe somebody to chase after for a little bit,
I agree. And I think Rollins is a Triple H guy. And I think so. This could be the Triple H effect.
Well, I mean, he does the pedigree. I mean, and you don't get to do the pedigree on WWE television if you don't get the endorsement from the man himself.
Right.
So
I see Rollins winning, which he should win, despite my disdain for Riddle.
I think in the long run, Riddle will get his comeuppance and he'll get that and everything. But I think this is the beginning of that saga. And so it's going to make sense for, Rollins has taken a few big losses recently, and he's very good at bouncing back from losses.
Clearly.
He comes back and he'll be like, yeah, I lost, but you know what? I don't care. And I'm still the best. I still think I'm the best. And so, and that's great. It's a really great way for him to absorb those losses and then still maintain his arrogance and everything along the way. So I think it's time for him to actually get a win. And unfortunately, it's just going to come at the expense of one of my boys. So,
yeah, well, that's true. But at some point, he needs to stop absorbing a loss, because at some point then it'll just be right.
Now, like I said, I feel like it's time, and he should get a win. So,
but unlike what you said, I'll say fortunately it's going to come at the hands of Riddle. All right, so now we have ex-NFL star Pat McAfee versus Happy Corbin.
So one quick thing I want to mention about this is that if Vince McMahon, now granted he's retired as the CEO, now that doesn't mean that he can't still compete as a competitor.
True.
I thought
they said he's done as a character too. I thought that I saw that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's something that even if they've declared that, they can reverse very easily.
Sure.
I mean, they can just decide to
Maybe they
change,
put a mask on him.
yeah, do the Mr. America gimmick.
Yes.
Yeah. But if in fact he has had his last match, Pat McAfee can say that he fought Vince McMahon in his final match.
Yes.
That was an official match.
Yes.
Everything that happened with Stone Cold afterwards was post-match. So, I mean, as far as Vince McMahon's final farewell match, as it stands right now, was with Pat McAfee. So that's quite a feather in your cap, regardless of how it came about.
Exactly.
And it was still, I mean, all that being said, I mean, that was one of the better spots in the entire WrestleMania was Pat McAfee's match, with Theory and then into Vince and then with Stone Cold coming out. I mean, that was like a solid 45 minutes or whatever of the show. That was just fantastic. So if I was Vince, I would leave it there. I don't think you're going to do any better. You had Stone Cold there. You took the stunner. You had
and you're 77.
And took one of the next to the first stunner he took. He took the second worst stunner he ever took in his life at that match. I mean, that was and like Stone Cold was laughing about it. You could see him he gave it to him. It was just like,
well, you're 77. There's only so you can suspend belief as much as possible, but you're 77. How much longer could you possibly go in the ring?
Well, the roids help him a lot, but I mean, the steroids help him a lot.
That's not just natural hard working out.
I don't, all I can say is, I've grown up in the bodybuilding community since I was a child. I've seen a lot of people on steroids, and so I can spot them pretty quickly. Just saying at 77, he might be getting a little bit of help, but plus, hey, he's still hooking up with these girls apparently too.
Genetic jackhammer.
The genetic jackhammer. So, but to the match itself, yes, we've got Pat McAfee, we've got Darren Corbin, both of these guys, former NFL personnel. Do you know what their positions were? I'm not familiar.
McAfee was a punter, I believe. I don't know what Corbin was.
Yeah, no, I do remember McAfee being a punter. Honestly, I'm gonna go with Corbin on this. And the reason is because I feel like he too is due for a win. And McAfee has really gotten a lot of, just really wonderful wins in recent history. Corbin needs something to kind of kick him back into gear and everything. He took he had his run with Madcap Moss and then he took 2 or 3 losses in a row to him. McAfee's been on a roll with his wins. I think it's time, SummerSlam is a transitionary period, just like WrestleMania is. And I think it's time that Corbin starts kind of getting a little momentum going. So I'm gonna go with Corbin on that one.
Well, it is time for Corbin to get some momentum going, but it's not going to happen here. McAfee's going to punt him. See what I did there? McAfee's going to punt him out. He's going to take this match. I'm really hoping that this is the end of Happy Corbin, and we just get back to Corbin as himself, because this Happy Corbin character I could do without.
I agree. I was a very big fan of his original character in NXT and then on to WWE. I do not like the Happy Corbin thing. I think that he is a much edgier and darker person, and that's who they need to be pushing. And maybe now with Triple H at the helm, that might happen, because when he was doing his old stuff, that was under Triple H's authority. So I think if he showed up at SummerSlam and came out to some new music, different look, and went at it edgier than like he used to, I think he could really kick things off going into the rest of the year on a real high note.
Well, now that's interesting. You might think you might be going along with thought that Corbin actually reverts back to his character before this match, for this match, I should say. I'm thinking he goes in as Happy Corbin, he gets his butt kicked, and then after that, when he comes back, whatever on Raw or wherever, then we see the transformation. So we're thinking along the same lines, or at least hoping.
Yeah, it's possible. Mine's a little more jarring, but sometimes that I think is more exciting. It's kind of like when John Cena comes to the ring to his old music.
No, you could be on it.
And people are, just like for one night he does the rapper gimmick and everything, and people are like, but like if it doesn't even have to be his old music, it doesn't have to be his old entrance, it could be something completely brand new, but something different from what he's doing that's just edgier and darker. And if he did that, that crowd would turn like that.
That's true.
They would turn like that. It's like before the match even started, he would get them. So you
raise a good point. I'm still staying with McAfee though.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And again, I just feel like McAfee's got a lot of, high notes under him already. He's just got I don't know that he'll ever do better than his WrestleMania match this last year. So, but we'll see. So
we will see.
All right.
All right. We got Mysterios versus the Judgment Day without Edge, obviously.
Yeah. This is one of the tougher ones for me. I can see reason for either side to win. And, the idea that Dominic would maybe switch over to Judgment Day, it's possible. I think waiting until after this 20th anniversary thing was important, so that Dominic could technically be out there with his dad and things like that. But if he does in fact decide that he's going to join the Judgment Day, this would be the match where he would turn on him, especially in a no DQ one, and that could help put over Judgment Day. It helps Dominic. And I think after 20 years, Ray might be looking to kind of, kick back a little bit and be more of a special attraction. So I'm going to go with the Judgment Day on this. And I'm looking for a potential swerve from Dominic to join him.
Totally. Absolutely. Like you read my mind. Yeah. Dominic turns on Ray. Ray disappears for a while. He's either hurt or distraught. Maybe it goes for an extended period of time. And then this could eventually lead up to a match between the two of them at WrestleMania next year, maybe even a retirement match for Ray.
I mean, that would be really something if Dominic was the one to retire his father. So
I bet I would guarantee they would love a match against each other. And what better place to have it than WrestleMania?
Right.
But regardless, at this point, Judgment Day takes the win, and Judgment Day needs something.
I agree too. I feel like they're kind of floundering a little bit right now, so I think that it would make sense for them to they gotta get a little more backbone behind them. So I think that this is an important win for them to get.
Next, we have YouTube star Logan Paul, the man with two first or last names, depending on how you look at it, versus former reality star, The Miz.
My gut tells me to go with Logan Paul. But I also know how they like to swerve you on things like that maybe seem a little obvious. So I'm actually going to go with The Miz on this. Because I think that it just seems very obvious to let Logan Paul win this first match. Now, I think that Logan Paul, I'm not wild about him being in the WWE, but I do think he did a good job at WrestleMania. He did perform very well. So I think that he doesn't need to necessarily prove himself at this. He can have a great match and still lose. And walk away with a lot of respect from people. So I'm actually going to go with The Miz because I think that would perpetuate a rivalry with them more than Logan Paul having won. Miz chasing Logan Paul isn't the same as Logan Paul going the other way, because Logan Paul at this point should be the underdog, and he's the new guy, and he should be having to chase after this veteran who is going out of his way to make his entrance into the company as difficult as possible. So I'm going to go with Mike Mizanin.
Well, I will go with Logan Paul. I don't think Logan Paul came in, signed the contract to lose at least his first match against The Miz. Much like you said about Rollins being able to absorb losses and it not really matter. I think Miz is sort of in that same category. Win, lose, or draw, he's going to come out to the next show and still be the Miz and still be the cocky guy that he is. And he works much better as a heel. A heel Miz is so much better than a face Miz. That's just
yeah, sure. No, I mean, and I agree with that, but I just think that Logan Paul getting the win, so then what? Miz is mad. Well,
yeah, so they have the big blow,
and then they go to the next pay-per-view, and then they have another match. It doesn't have the same fire behind it, because I'm not, like Miz could win dirty or something like that, and then that fires up Logan Paul. I mean, you gotta, to get behind a guy, you have to have some level of sympathy for them, or something that you empathize with. And if he just goes and wins, it's not as dramatic as if he loses and has to come back and try to prove it. Because if he comes in here and he just wins this match, and then it's like, well, okay, then why shouldn't he beat him at the next show or something like that?
What if this is the end of the feud? What if this ends it and they both go off in different directions?
Well, then I think this is a wasted match. I think if they're going to do one match like this and then just call it a day and then go their separate ways, I think that this match shouldn't happen. I don't see the benefit behind it. So yeah, no, I'm sticking with the Miz.
All right. Well, you're entitled. Now we have Bianca Belair defending her title, Raw Women's title, against the lovely Becky Lynch.
Belair.
Bianca's lovely too. Don't get me wrong.
Going with Belair. I think this is her ultimate retribution for last year's loss at SummerSlam against Becky Lynch. It's been a long time coming, and I think that it's time. I think that Becky Lynch will be fine without the title, and she can go into other programs with different women where there aren't any titles on the line. So I'm going to go Bianca Belair on this.
I fear between this match and the next match, which is going to be another women's match, I fear the Charlotte Flair factor. I see her coming in, but I don't know who she's going to take out. I don't know what she's going to do. So I kind of
could go either way. Yeah, it could go either way, but she certainly has been off the radar for a while now. So, I mean, it would make sense that perhaps she would start stepping in now,
And she could cause a disqualification, or she could cause a win without a disqualification. So I don't know. I just see her interfering in some way.
If you're talking about the Belair and Lynch match, I mean, the controversy behind everything was always between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. So you would think that she would probably screw over Becky Lynch, and then Belair, she could.
But Belair, I mean, she could. But then will the ref will the ref see it as a clean win for Belair, or will it be a disqualification win for Belair, or a disqualification win for Lynch?
Well, either way, she would retain the title. So,
right.
As long as she retains the title, it doesn't matter. So but now you've set up Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch, which a lot of people want to see because of the drama that they know that's gone on. So I would lean towards that, which isn't to say that she couldn't get involved in the SmackDown title match.
You do both.
But yeah, she's got reason to get involved in either one, and who knows, maybe she'll do both, but yeah, no, I think the most likely, if she were to get involved, would be to interfere with Becky Lynch and cost her the chance at the title. and then the two of them can have a rivalry that has no title involved, you know.
But what I'm asking though is, are we predicting the winner of this match, or are we predicting if Belair walks away with the title? We're predicting the winner.
If you predict the winner,
because Lynch could win by DQ, which would save Belair's title and screw over Lynch.
I'm still giving the win to Belair. I know that interference, if they get caught on a DQ, then yeah, it would technically be a win for Lynch. Even with that possibility, I feel like Charlotte will do something that the ref won't see that will get caught, that will catch Becky Lynch into a submission or a pin or something like that, you know, is definitive. So I think it'll be a definitive win, but under controversy as far as the interference. So well, I'll still put my W with Belair.
That's what I've got mine with Belair as well. I just wanted to find out if which way we're going on, you know, the title versus the win.
Yeah, no, I understand.
All right. Now we move on to Liv Morgan defending against Ronda Rousey.
Liv Morgan. I don't think they put the title on her to take it off that quick. I don't think anybody wants to see the title on Ronda Rousey right now. I think they much rather see it on Liv Morgan. And I do feel like it's really going to take an impressive match to get people to buy into Liv beating Ronda Rousey, because on paper or interference, but I'm not expecting, unless Charlotte aside, I'm not expecting it. I think that she's going to have to, Liv is going to really have to work her ass off to make this believable, but I think that she should get to retain the title. And so I'm going with Liv.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there was no point in giving Liv the title just to take it off so quickly. Rousey isn't that over right now. I see a big heel turn, which is fine. Have her go monster heel, have her lean into it.
Yeah.
But I do think she could carry, and kind of hard to believe I'm saying that, I believe she could carry Liv to a good match. Even though Rousey gets criticized for her wrestling ability, I think she can make Liv look good.
I agree. I don't think that's I think the criticism she takes is unjustified. Ronda knows how to roll in that ring, no problem. Right. I mean, I don't think her wrestling prowess or talent in the ring is her problem at all. You know, no. You know, it's promos and personality and things like that. It's her character and her charisma that is where things fall short. But as far as being in the ring, she's a natural. She rolls right into submissions, and she does. And anything I've ever seen her do looked real good to me. So I've never looked at her and thought, "Oh God, that was a botch," or "That looked ugly," or anything like that.
Agreed.
She always looks good in the ring. So yeah, I think she can definitely help make Liv look a lot better than she is. But you know, either way, whether it's her helping her out or it's Liv, you know, kicking things up a notch, I'm fine with Liv retaining, but they're going to have to really make it convincing. You know, you got to find a way to make that match look good. So,
and we do have one more match. I'm not sure if I listed it for you, but there is the Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar match.
Yeah, that's kind of a big part of it. It is the main event. So
did I list that? I
think you did. Yeah. So here's the way I'm predicting things go down. I feel like Lesnar is going to finally get his win. The question then becomes, is Theory going to cash in on his Money in the Bank successfully or not?
That's the hot rumor.
That's the big thing. And I say Lesnar wins, Theory cashes in and becomes champion.
Oh God, I hope not.
Now you skipped over an earlier match because Theory is going to be wrestling Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship.
You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's. All right, yeah. Theory Lashley. Who do you got? We'll get back to
I'm
them.
Well, it's a quick answer. I'm going with Lashley. I don't see any reason for him to give up the United States Championship. I don't see any reason for if here's the thing. I don't see any situation where Theory is going to walk out of SummerSlam with both the United
Right.
States Championship and the Undisputed Championship. He's going to have 3 belts. There's no way that's happening. Okay.
Well, he
There's
doesn't, and he doesn't need the U.S.
and he
champion.
doesn't need all of it
Not the money in
either.
the
No.
bank.
So U.S. title stays on Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
Now, I do, so the burning question at the end of the night, though, literally, really is going to be, what does Theory end up doing? And I think it will be a successful cash in. I don't think they'll let him do it on Roman Reigns. I think that they'll put him over on Lesnar. Now, that may lead into him versus Lesnar or whatever down the road or whatever the case is, but I feel like the bloodline has got to be done. Like, collectively, they're all going to lose on the same night. Like, they're going to just it's not like the tag titles are going to go and all that's left is Roman Reigns. In my mind, I don't see them doing that. Could be wrong, but that's where I'm at with it. So if the Usos are losing the tag titles, if the Usos lose the tag titles, I feel like that's a real big tell that they're going to take the title off of Reigns. He's pushing 700 plus days as the champion. SummerSlam is a big enough event for it to happen. SummerSlam has been known for having, like Randy Orton won his first title at SummerSlam, and he became the youngest champion at the time. If Theory does it, he'll beat that record. And everybody hates Theory. He's got a lot of heat. A lot of people are against him, and it would be talked about more the next day at the water cooler if Theory wins the title through the Money in the Bank contract than if Lesnar just wins and gets away with it, or even survives an attack from a cash in. So
the only question, that would answer my question. The only question I really have, I also think Lesnar is going to beat Reigns. I don't think Theory is going to beat. I'm not sure if he's even going to attempt to cash in, but I don't see him beating Lesnar. I don't see Lesnar being that quick of a transitional champ. That just doesn't make sense to me. But the only thing, the X factor is, what part of the storyline was it when? Did Lesnar really walk out, or was that just storyline? Was that just dirt sheet stuff?
That was just storyline. I mean, so that. Well, he came back at the end of the night.
Right, but did he come back because he cooled off?
No.
Is any of that true?
No, I mean, not to the best of my knowledge. No, I don't think that that's true.
There's no way he's losing. There's no way he's beating Reigns and losing a Theory in a minute. It's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
But we're both predicting Lesnar to win.
Yeah, but I think that the Theory prediction should be part of the count, though, too. I'm saying he's going to cash in and win. You're saying he's not.
Well, what am I saying? He's not going to win, or
either he doesn't cash in at all, which is fine.
I'll say he does not come out as champ. Theory, right?
Right. If he doesn't cash in, that counts in your favor. If he doesn't, or if he does try to cash in and he doesn't win, that's still in your favor.
Okay.
I give you both of those.
There's 2 factors. We got the match factor, and then we have that factor in this one.
Right.
All right.
Now, one other thing we haven't talked about yet before we wrap it up here is that the last episode was we talked about your potential departure from the show if you were to lose in the points, but you did not.
I won.
You won.
Yes.
So you are still here now.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah. Wow. So is that done now? Is that done and buried, or are you?
Well, it's done for now.
Okay.
It's done for now. It may come back at some point. It may not. I don't know. We may have an individual bet at some point. It doesn't have to be the whole show. But I threw that out there. I put my career on the line, and I came out strong, and I beat you. I do have our stats.
Yeah. What are our stats right now?
For the year, you are beating me. You are 18-18. and I am 13-23. I'm struggling. Lifetime stats, just you versus me.
Okay.
You are 27-25, and I am 31-21. So I got your lifetime, but you are gaining rapidly this year.
All right. So 2022 has been a good year for me.
Yeah, well, you're 18-18.
All right. So I'm calling it 50-50. Well, and that's about the best most people can do with wrestling. But you know,
and I'm scuffling 13-23. I'm 10.
Part of the problem also is that we never have the ability to do this before seeing the final SmackDown because some things happen there that would probably, you know, could potentially change our verdict. But you know, this is the
risk we take.
This is the best we can do. So
we're professionals.
Well,
we have two different. Well, we have three different. We have Logan Paul versus The Miz. We have McAfee versus Corbin, and we have will or won't Theory come out with the win, the title.
Yeah.
Good luck.
We'll see what happens.
So anything else before I wrap this bad boy up?
Nope, I think we covered it all.
All right, for Pinfalls, for the Johngy Podcast Network, for Johngy's Beat, for Everyday Fan Sports, for Spotify. This has been Pinfall SummerSlam. I, of course, am Johngy, and always joined by who else? Tommy
else. All right, happy SummerSlam, everybody.
Enjoy the show Saturday.